All right, welcome to the Service MVP podcast, and my name is Joe Crisara, America's service sales coach. I am here with one of my dearest of friends, Mr. Rick Picard. Rick, how you doing there? Say hi to all of our audience here today.
Hi, everybody, and Joe, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Well, definitely you're a record holder in terms of how many times I've interviewed somebody, probably.
Right.
And when we go to your house and we have a adult beverage, I interview you even longer. And
Right.
you know, I think we interview each other at that time.
Yeah, but I
At
don't
that
know if
time,
the stories are always as accurate then.
Rick, thanks for being here again. I couldn't think of somebody else. The book, What Should We Do, just got released a few weeks ago, and it's now a #1 bestseller on Amazon in the service industry. We've got over several thousand downloads on all platforms: the Audible, the paperback, and the hardcover, and even Kindle. So definitely thanks for that. And one of the things, the reason I brought you on first after this, my first podcast after that was been released, was because there's so many incidents I that just kept coming back to you. So I always say all roads lead to Uncle Joe, but one of the towns you got to go through is Rick Picardville. You know what I'm saying there?
That's great. I gotta
Makes
tell you,
sense?
Joe, I had a really good time. I read the book right here, every word. And what I also did, which I got more out of it, is I got the audio book and I listened to it in my truck in between calls. And I really enjoyed the audio book as well. I think reading it's one thing, but listening to it as well, because you know who narrates it, Joe?
America's Service Sales Coach, Joe
That's
Crisara.
right. It's your voice. So I really found that to be enjoyable as well. So I think you should buy the book, but if you have the opportunity to download, I think it was the Audible app, I downloaded it too. It was really great to listen to it as well.
Yeah, I was listening. I had a couple plane flights since then, and I've about 1.5 times through it. That was like, I said the same thing. I actually coached myself a few times. I'm like, I got to get back to doing that. What I just said in the book.
Well,
So it's
that's why
like
I thought it was
funny.
really good going in between sales calls. I'm like, you know what? I've gotten away from that a little bit. I got to get back, So, I told you it's like a textbook. I gave I bought 20 copies and I gave them to the service managers and I said, listen, if you have guys who really want them and want to improve, on me, here's the free book for them because there's so
Nice.
much information in there for them. But if they're having a problem with verbal packaging or objections, you can go right to that chapter. I don't mean to talk about your book so much, Joe, but it's like a textbook. They can take the tech who's having a problem with verbal packaging, and they can look right at that chapter. So I think it's a very powerful book.
Well, this meeting today, we're going to do a little podcast here. It's going to be about the thing that I gave you credit in the book for, which is to first discover the term pure motive service. And I asked you, I told you I might steal it. And you said, Joe, you can't steal it. I'm going to give it to you. It's not
That's right.
stealing when somebody gives it to you, you can't steal it. I said, well, thank
That's
you, Rick.
right.
I
Right.
appreciate that, and definitely, I think we've given each other a lot. That's been the definition of our relationship. And I want to see if you can add some value to our listeners about pure motive service. Why don't we go ahead and just tell a little bit about, there's the preoccupation of the numbers and the KPIs and the conversion rate and the average invoice and all that kind of stuff. When you manage and coach like 5 salespeople, and you even work with the service techs over at your company at Rodenheiser Services, which is one of the world-class service companies in the entire country. Rick, when you're doing what first of all, how did you first get that light bulb that came over your head where pure motive service arrived in your brain? And number two, is pure motive service still prevalent in your life as you're helping your team? Tell us more about those two things.
Yeah, so it's interesting, Joe, is that I had been to your class and I really enjoyed it. And I had the opportunity after I took your class a couple of times. And the first time I took it, I had learned a lot. And a situation happened when one of the students in the class gave me a call. And he says, Rick, I'm having a problem getting back to see all decision makers. And at the same time, I'm not getting the opportunity to get back into customers' homes. I'm like, well, you know how we talk about E plus R equals O, right? The event and the response equals the outcome. So I
Right.
can tell you my outcome, is very good about getting back into the customer's house. So let's look at the E, the R, and the O, which is talked about in your book. and let's see what you're doing. So let's do a little bit of role playing. So it's kind of humorous if you think about it now. He says, I said, so let's see what you do. Hi, Mrs. Smith. I'm here to look at your furnace. Are all the decision makers home? No, my husband's not here. Well, I'm not giving you a quote today. I'm not giving a presentation until you're both here. I'm like, okay. So I said, so you're not going to talk to me unless my husband's here. And that's what they keep on saying to me. So the principle is right. He knew what he wanted to accomplish, but it was too selfishly motivated. So when I asked him, I said, so what are the reasons why you want to get with the husband and wife? Well, I know my average ticket's going to be better and my closing rate's going to be better. And I'm like, see, everything here is about you. All right. So if your motive is corrupt, your results are going to be corrupt.
Mm.
All right. So ask me why I want to get both homeowners there. All right. And the reason I told them was I want everybody in the house to have equal access to information. I mean, it wouldn't be right for me to explain the information to her and ask her to do my job and explain it to her husband. I mean, I wouldn't ask her to do that. That's just bad service, and I don't do bad service. All right. So, it sounded something like this. So when I would go to the door, I'd say, so what are you hoping to accomplish today? And we go through different things. So if I was the guest, you're the only one who has to hear the information. And she said, oh, no, my husband have to do that. Oh, really? Where's your husband now? He's working. Oh, what's his schedule like? Oh, yeah, he works every day, 9 to 5. I'm like, all right. Then I go do go through all the other steps. And I'll say, well, I really appreciate you having me come today. You mentioned that your husband gets home at 5. So is it a good time? Maybe I'll come back at one evening at 6 or Saturday. I don't want to rush him when he first gets home 5 o'clock. So I think 6 o'clock would be a good time. And the homeowner would say, well, can't you just give it to me? Well, I could do that, but I don't think I wouldn't feel comfortable me explaining all the information to you and then me asking you to explain it to him. I mean, he may have a question that you don't know the answer to, and that would just be bad service. So if you're nice enough to let me come back and provide proper service, I'm nice to come back anytime it's convenient for you. So in my conversation with your student, he says, oh, I can see it's for her. You're doing it for her. And that's the truth. It's not a tactic. I really do want to make sure that both people have equal access to the information. And I really do want to be here in case she has a question. The fact that I'm going to have a higher closing rate and a higher average ticket is a result of what I do, but not the reason for what I do. So the motive has to be pure. And then the second time I went to your class in 2004, your information is so powerful that I felt some of the students in my conversations with them were getting the wrong idea. They're almost thinking about how to use this information to manipulate the customer. And they were focused on, oh, this is going to raise my closing ratio, my average ticket. And I didn't think they were really getting it. I thought they were understanding the tactics and the principles, but they weren't understanding the motive of it. And it's really a demonstration of world-class service. And the motive has to be pure. And that's why after the class I went to, which is in the book, and I said, you know what? What you're really doing is you're helping customers by giving them all these solutions. And your motive is to help people, not to manipulate people. And I think you just need to make that clearer to people in your classes so they understand why we're all here. Because, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, and when we added that term to it, our company grew exponentially since that. So definitely I owe you a debt of gratitude. I think it's true. Funny thing is, I did see that salesperson, who I don't want to put him out there in his name, but he's actually a really great guy. He was just time trying to figure this all out. But he working at another company. He goes, hey, don't forget, I'm the one who inspired Rick to do Pure Motor Service. I said, no. I said, no. I said, no. Remember, you did it together. It was both of you. It wasn't. I said, that's the lesson. It's ironic that you're saying you're taking credit for it. I said, but truthfully, it's both of you together who came up with it. You brought the problem. He brought the solution. So both things were done by both of you. And really, truthfully, Pure Motive Service, if I say there's one word that typifies Pure Motive Service, it's the word us. That we're doing this together. That I'm doing this for your behalf. And if the customer wins, then the salesperson or the service provider wins as well. Rick, you think that's a fair way of putting it?
And I do, and I think what happens is too many students get worried about the steps and how to how the format, how to do everything, and they lose track of the pure motive. But if you focus on the pure motive, all the steps become more easy because you're using the motives as a way to help provide better service to the customer and help the customer get something they need and want. You know what I mean? So I think that's the thing. I mean, even that guy, I'm not saying that guy was a bad guy, but he was just studying what you taught him. And because he didn't have the right motive, it wasn't working for him.
Yeah, I
Because
always say that. I always say that
it
everything
was
that's
him, not us.
well, well, you know what? I always say that the most powerful things in our world are things that we can't see, touch, or feel. But it is something that it's an intangible that's not something that's an object. But you know, like electricity, you can't see it, touch it. You can't feel it when you experience it, but you really can't see it or touch it.
Right.
Same with the wind. You can't really see it. It blows through you or whatever, but you can't see it or it's not present, right? But the most powerful things in the world are things that can be used for good or evil, right? The good would be doing it to help other people, to get better safety and health and quality or reliability, the comfort, to get better customer service. And those are things that really you can't put it in a box. It's not a product. It's really a service. And you know, those things that are like that, electricity, wind, or you know, even the sun, solar energy, can be used to kill people, or they can be used to make people live a much fuller and better life. It's all depends on how humans were used it. Electricity could be used to power a heart and lung machine, or it can be used to create an electric chair, which would kill people. And that's
Right.
really the key thing. It's you can see that that kind of thing. It's like electricity. It's like when you do pure motive service, it's an intangible that depends on how the human us. It's all dependent on that responsibility. It kind of connects right to responsibility. Can you talk a little bit about that, Rick, and how a pure motive service connects right into responsibility more?
Right. It's, I think a good example is when I coach my team members. I look at the numbers, but just to give me kind of like where they are. But I'm talking about what they're doing, about taking responsibility for the results, right? And so I don't want to criticize them. I want to help them understand that responsibility is a gift you give yourself because you can respond if you take responsibility. It reminds me of a story when I was working in Rhode Island. Do we have time for a story, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah.
All right, yeah, we were working in Rhode Island, and the company I had worked at the time was in business for 60 years. It was a Rhode Island company, and there was 3 other salesmen that were working in Massachusetts, and they always say that the reason why I sold triple what they did is because the company was in the Rhode Island for 60 years and had a better name and was known in Rhode Island, and that in Massachusetts it wasn't as well known. And I wanted to help them see that they weren't taking responsible for their own results. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. For the next month, I'm going to work in your territory and you're going to work in mine. And then the month after that, I'm going to work in your territory and you're going to work in mine. And the month after that, I'm going to work in your territory. So I worked for 3 months in the Massachusetts territory. And what happened was they have some sweet rebates in Massachusetts. And they're a lot more affluent in Massachusetts than they are in Rhode Island. I didn't want to leave Massachusetts once I spent some time there.
Right. So they said the place that they actually said the better market wasn't as good because
Right,
they couldn't sell anything in that market. You went in that
right,
market, you're like, man, why would anybody say this? Is like people
right.
got money over here. It's like
If
it's
you
like
guys want to work in Rhode Island, you can take my territory. He wants my territory.
Rhode Island.
But
They're raising chickens in Rhode Island. Over here, they're raising golden gooses over
right.
here.
So I
That's
sold even
funny.
more in that area, you know what I mean? But when I went back to Rhode Island, like I promised I would, they all did better, right? Because they took responsibility. I'm like, they had aha moments. Say, so Rick can do it over there. What is he doing different? And it allowed by that type of coaching, it allowed them to see the opportunity to grow and take responsibility for themselves. And so, when a manager asks you to be responsible, or anybody asks you to be responsible, we don't want to take it as a criticism. We want to take it as a gift. They're giving
Yeah.
you a gift by asking to be responsible. You know, you hear salespeople say the economy is bad, or the customers are cheap, or the company, or the company's too expensive, all these different things. And well, maybe the customer's cheap because you're not creating enough value. You know, what kind of words you're using, what kind of solutions you're putting together, the company. I'm displaying that you're there to help. You know, so those are things you can do internally. So event, uh, by the response will affect the outcome, and that's what responsibility is.
Right. Well, I remember I seen several instances of that throughout. As like we've known each other for a long time, over 20 years now. I think it's going on, or past
Yeah,
20 years now.
yeah.
But when I first met you, it was like I remember one of the stories I tell is that you had your call coordinator and some of the people at the office. You told me that Joe, there was these people are working against me. It's like
Yeah.
it was always about somebody else. You called me one time, you were in a tizzy, and you're like, the whole I got all these people in the office, they're working against me. They won't even give me enough office space. And I'm like, Rick, for every problem, if every time you point a finger out there, there's three fingers pointing back at you. I said, I wouldn't be. Listen, you're a great friend, I told you, but I said if you're asking me to get the whole office replaced, we're not going to be able to. I don't think
Right,
we're
right.
able to.
And
We're not going to be
you
able
know
to
what, Joe?
accomplish
It's
that, right?
even, I was a big lump of clay that needed molding. That's for sure.
Right, right.
I remember what you said to me, and I still think about this all the time. I get pissed off at something and say, Rick, you're just indulging yourself. Remember, you used to
That's
say that
it.
to me all the time. You're
Yep.
indulging yourself. You're letting your emotions get in the way, and it's just not helpful. So take responsibility for the results, and don't indulge yourself because you're stronger than that. Weak people indulge yourselves,
That's it.
right? Right. And so I don't indulge, well, I try not to indulge myself. You know what I mean? And it's an ongoing battle, but but I really think about that. And I catch myself talking to my children, my adult children, don't indulge yourself. Talking about their husband or their wife, you know what I mean? So it's powerful information. So to say over 20 years ago when you met me, I needed some molding was an understatement.
Well, now what's shaped out of that clay is the monument because the people at Rodenheiser certainly are a testament because when you went there, you're like, well, the first thing we're going to do is train the team because the team needs to learn this stuff. Before I do any calls, I remember you said they stacked up a bunch of calls for you. Say, well,
Yeah, yeah,
we'll put that on hold for now, but let me get the
yeah.
guys. Let's make sure the team is taken care of, and even I know you would never say this, but Rick takes his team to a place that does lobster. What's the name of that place you go to in Rhode
A
Island? It's called
Nordic
the lobster.
Lodge.
What's
Nordic
it called?
Lodge. Nordic
Nordic Lodge.
Lodge. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
someday I'll get lucky enough to go there. I was never invited there, but maybe I'll
That
get I get to go there
would cost me
someday.
$150 a person. So
Oh, that's the drop in
not
a buck.
the
But he brings everybody. He brings the whole office
yeah.
staff and the team there, and and the reason is I think is pure motive service. It's like these people are serving me. I think that's what you kind of recognize over a long period of time is that what I never have expressed my appreciation in the way I have, and now systematically I think you're finding a way to do that. Does that sound a
Oh
fair
yeah,
statement
it's
there,
so
Rick?
important. It's a marriage, right? I mean, I can't go out if the company doesn't maintain a strong culture of service and quality and has 5,000 bad reviews. It's going to make my job a lot harder, right?
Hmm.
And if I can't focus on world-class customer service and pure motive because I'm handling customer complaints, all right, it's going to really affect my success. So they do their part. They do a world-class customer service. They 10,000 five-star reviews in 5 years on our website. I mean, there's a lot of hard work that went into that I didn't do.
Yeah.
So I have to have a lot of appreciation of that. So it's a marriage. They give me a product to be able to offer, and I know how to offer it to the customers to help them. So
Yeah.
you need both sides.
You're right. It's to the point now that this team, like when I first met you, when you first went to Rodenheiser, they were a good company, but now they're legendary, seriously. And like listen to this, last week I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I had somebody say, yeah, but the lead turnover process, here's how we were taught to do it at a different best practice group. And I'm like, that's all well and good, but Rick Picard and Rodenheiser are doing it this way. And they go, okay, we'll just do it this way then. It was like I'm like, okay, but Rick Picard, what, you're gonna argue with them? Don't you know who they are? Oh yeah, of course, everybody knows who they are. And
Yeah, yeah.
so it's not now the name of Rodenheiser and Rick Picard and all the team. Got some really great guys, Ross and Dan and all the guys who were there. Some of the greatest service
And the
people
best guy
I've
of
met.
all is the owner of the company, Andy Rodenheiser, right? Pure Motor Service comes naturally to him. That's how he is. I mean, he's a guy that cares about the customers, cares about the employees. He's always there to do the right thing. And so that permeates through the whole company, right? Just like if there was an owner that wasn't that way, right? It would permeate through the whole company. They say the fish stinks from the head down, right? So, yeah, so that, Andy's attitude and leadership, when I went to Rodenheiser, they had a culture of quality and service, but they just needed a culture of sales.
Yeah,
And that's what I was able to, that was the piece I was able to bring to the company.
it was more of an operational mindset, as I recall. And then, but they
Right.
said, because when we said, who should we select for you to go to? And I said, well, Runhouse got great installation people and they believe in high quality. They need to see somebody to be able to communicate that to their clients and help
Right.
the rest of the team do the same thing. And definitely, and you get to give all the credit to the team because they had to have an open mind when new information came into them, and that certainly typified everywhere, everything from Andy to John and all the rest of the people in that company have done a great job with it. One thing I was going to say was that with that being said, when I think one I was going to say about pure motive service, the reason I think it's such an important lesson for this podcast is because whenever in sales, it's kind of it can be a lonely job, right? Where you're out there in your car, you're doing all your calls, go back to the office, and they're like, "Oh, the sales guy's here. He's bothering us." Whatever, it's always like, "Oh, we were just getting some work done, and the sales guy dumps all this stuff
Yeah.
on us," right? And it could be kind of a job that's isolating, right? And I think pure motive service. Talk about that when we start to indulge in self pity or negative, like this client disrespected me or that part of it there, and how it kind of cleanses away the facet about like I'm being taken advantage of or I'm not getting what I need out of this type of thing. Because you said that salesperson said that's why he's doing that stuff. But I think salespeople in particular, I think you talk about the wave of positivity or optimism, I think, that pure motive service provides. If you're kind of standing on that granite rock of optimism and you see the good things of other people. Tell us about that a little bit more.
Right. Here's the thing. I give pure motive service because I care about people. It's what I do. If someone doesn't appreciate that, it doesn't affect me because I'm not doing it to get their appreciation. I'm doing it because that's what I do. That's who I am. Right. So when
Yep.
your identity is pure motive service and you're out to help people, not everybody's going to appreciate that. All right. But that's all right because the people that do are the people that I care about and looking for. You know what I mean? So, and also I have to think about when things don't go well, then I have to take responsibility and say, all right, what did I do with this customer? Like I have, it's powerful to say, listen, I've been doing this a long time. I sold $12 million last year, right? But the day you're not learning, you're not progressing, right? So it doesn't matter how much you sell, you can always learn something else. And, I was with someone the other day and I got the feeling that the customer just wasn't picking up what I was putting down. You know what I mean? And I said to him, can I stop for a minute? I mean, I feel like I'm explaining this to you, but it seems to me that you really just don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? Am I doing something that's making you feel like this information is not important? He said, you know what? I've got a sick family member. I just heard my brother is not doing well, and I'm really distracted. You know what I mean? I said, listen, we don't have to do this right now. I could come back another time. You know what I mean? He says, well, it's really important that I get this taken care of. I says, well, listen, when's a good time for me to come back? To come back this evening, tomorrow, whenever it is. All right. I come back and see you. So my motive is him. And when I noticed that he wasn't picking up what I was putting down, then I wanted to find out what I was doing wrong. Right. And what I was doing wrong was I didn't stop sooner and ask him, this is going on for 15, 20 minutes. He's like, this guy is just like not engaged. You know what I mean? And so I had to do better at providing better service to that customer and find out what was going on with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
and I think it explains the reason why I'm motivated to do everything the right way. So even though the client, like most of the clients would be like, yeah, go take a look at the furnace or AC and then go ahead and email it to me and I'll call you back later. That's pretty much every client, like not knowing what Pure Motive Service is, they've been taught by the competition, right?
right, right,
What do most people do? They walk in silently, say, go pet the dog, and then say, I'll go downstairs and measure the furnace. You guys can do what you want. They go about your business. They don't talk to anybody. They go, okay, well, I got the information. Let me go ahead and back and email it to you, and then call me if you're ready. Kind of, that's really what the other. So by the time they get to you, the customer's already got that is the operating system, right?
right, exactly. Yep.
And so really every call is going to be introducing the customer to a kind of a new way. The new way of doing it is, hey Joe, can I ask you a few questions about like who in the family first requested the estimate, or somebody here who thinks getting a new system is important? It's like, that's a good question, Rick. Why do you ask about my family? Well, the pure motive reason is that, listen, we're going to create customized, relevant reasons to make sure that people get the right solution. We want to make sure the application fits your family. That's pure motive service, right?
Right.
So I can't find out if your family is there. So tell us about how pure motives help to kind of solve the problem of managing conflicts, because most customers, or not all of them, want you to go down a certain path, and you're going to, what do you want to say, in a kind and gentle, in a way that shows that it's in your best interest to go
Right.
down the different path, right?
Right. Yeah.
Tell us
It's,
about how
yeah,
that
because
daily manages that conflict for you.
yeah, they don't know any better, right? So, I think you said something really important there, Joe. They don't know what bad service is, right? So all you have to do is expose it and say, well, listen, so if I was to email you a quote, all right, first of all, I don't do quotes. I provide solutions to problems. All right. All right. So if I send you my solutions and you have a question and I'm not there to answer for you, that's just bad service. And what's your experience been with Rosa so far? Yeah. Oh yeah, we called, you came out right away, everything. And I've talked to you about the people in the family, what you're hoping to accomplish and everything, right? So it's just, I just don't give bad service. Let me ask a question. Do you think it's good service for someone to leave and email a quote a day or two later from that? Do you think that's good service? Well, actually, now you're saying, I don't think it is good service.
Right,
I'm
right.
like, so why would you want me to participate in that? I mean, have I shown you that bad service is what we do? We just don't, I would never do that. You know what I mean? So, and now they can see you're sincere that you want to help them. You know what I mean? So, um,
Because I think it's the heart of sales, right? That
right.
you're trained to do things a certain way, but nobody really tells you how to navigate when the client, like would it be nice if the client had the script and they would just follow
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what you want? Yeah, okay, I'm going to give you your script, and here's my script, and wouldn't it be nice if you did sales training was all about, hey, let's do our 7-step method, and
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
here's do all these 7 steps. And yeah, it's like, and as a matter of fact, I remember doing that back in the 90s. And I did realize it didn't work. I had, programmed a very popular sales trainer back in the 90s. And I'm like, I sat there and memorized every single word. And
Yeah. Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
tried it, and it's like, client's not going along with this. And I just didn't know how to manage it. Really, that's the difference between, I think, really service training is more about how to serve others. Sales training is about how to sometimes. That's why we had to change the name of the company from contractor
Yeah.
selling to service MVP, right?
Right.
But Rick, I think that's part of it. And Rick, how do you teach that format? Because I know you have some of the best service providers and your colleagues like Dan and Ross, and you could name some of the other guys who are that's
Yeah,
who
we
I
have
use.
Matt, yeah, Matt, Dan, and Ross, those are the three guys we use. And they're all, in their own right. I mean, two of them did over 6 million last year. And then Matt, who I just trained last year, is gonna do 4.5 million as his first year.
Nice.
Right, and so again, it's just how we do things, pure motive service, right? We want to make sure that we find out about the family, find out what the needs are, and make sure we make relevant options for them. That makes sense to them, right?
Right,
So
right.
yeah, and so again, it's about service to the customer. So we're not there to sell them anything. We're here to help them buy what they need, right? So There's things we won't do, like obviously won't mail them, we just won't come look at it and email them a quote and not explain it to them. We would never do something like that. So, and also I really like in your book where it talks about yellow lights and red lights. Like I just told you, I just story, and a yellow light was flashing. This guy wasn't engaged, and I could have just ignored it and gone on, but I said no, I had to stop. It's amazing when you stop and you call somebody out nicely, how they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah,
I
they
remember
appreciate
that
it.
woman. You remember? I didn't even put it in the book, but that one about the woman's like, I already know what I need. I need to get this. I need air conditioning in it, and it should be. I'm looking at $3,400 for the whole system with ductwork and everything. And
Yeah.
and then you said, you remember that story when you said it to me? What that one was? And you said,
I saw many of them, but
the
yeah.
one she's like, you go like, oh, good then. Well, let's put a return into
Oh, that's, yeah, I
remember that
remember
one?
now.
Tell us
Yeah,
that
yeah.
story about that one.
I said, listen, but here's what I could do. I could put a giant unit up in the attic. I put one giant return and one giant supply. I mean, sound like a wind tunnel, and it might blow you over if you have one of your kids walk in front of it. But it'd be $3,400, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I said, not only that is, it will come with no service, no warranty. It's going to come with a tail light warranty. Once you can't see my tail lights, it's all over again. And
Uh-huh.
as far as efficiency and comfort and safety, we don't have to care anything about that because all we care about here is price. That's it.
Uh-huh.
The lady said to me, what'd she say to me, Joe? Remember?
She said, you're
You're
she said,
messing with me.
you're jerking me around, or you're
Said,
making fun of me right now, aren't you?
yeah,
Whatever it is.
she said to me, you're messing with me with
Yeah,
your
you're messing with me right
yeah.
now. You're
You're
pulling
messing
my
with
chain
me.
right now. Yeah.
I said, I am, because really, why is you focused on price getting the cheapest thing better? I mean, when's the last time you bought something better that was less? All right. Now, I think I know what you're saying. I'll translate this for you. You're looking for a good value,
Uh-huh.
right? So, and that's what we really want. But we don't want to sacrifice quality, service dependability, and safety, all right, for money. So if you want something for $3,400, I'm not going to do something like that. But if you want me to look at it and give you a list of options and solutions, if I show you all this stuff and you hate all of it, what are you going to say?
Say no.
No, we'll shake hands and leave as friends. But if I show you all this, you find something that suits you and it's not $3,400 and it's more, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, we'll just get it done, Rick.
We'll get it done right, all right? So
And
why
she did
don't,
get it. She did get it done, didn't she?
right, and I said, I'm gonna free you. Let's talk about you're free to say yes to or no. And not worry about the price until you see the solution. And she spent like 25 grand with me.
Nice, nice. So it
Yeah,
was more than 34, but just a little bit more than 30. She wouldn't go for
right,
3,400, but or 3,500, 3,600, but she would go for
right.
25,000 instead. That was
Right,
the
yeah, I'll never forget that lady. It was that I really learned a lot, and that she taught me a lot. I really had to thank her a lot because she taught me a lot. And and that's what really people are saying. Sometimes when they focus on price, we have to help them. Pure Motor Service is helping them, but realize that's not the way to go. That's the road to disaster, right? We don't want that. And so if we care about them, we're gonna find a way to help them see that's not how you decide,
Yeah,
right?
if the salesperson is thinking about money, or the customer is only concerned about the upfront cost of the money, and they're not concerned about the long term. Because here's the thing about it: heating and cooling companies, and plumbing companies, and all these in-home service companies. When you do a solution, your signature's on that solution
Mm.
for forever, and
Right.
you've left that solution there in the customer's home, and your name is attached to the quality and reliability, or the safety and health issues, or the customer service, or even if it's like a problem that other people are like, nobody else in the industry is bringing up a problem, but you see a problem as honesty, even when it's not popular. Those are all the things that are pure motive service. Rick, any final thoughts here? That was a good podcast starts on time, but a great one. It's already too late for that, but we're going to make it a super great, because it's going to give a little extra overtime here with Rick Picard. Rick, any final thoughts here that you want to just give service professionals out there who are looking to execute better service?
I think all I can really say is to get the book. And like I said, read the book. It was so helpful to me. I've been all over that information. It still brought some good reminders to me. And I would also encourage you to get the audio book and listen to it. I mean, I read the book first and then I got the audio book and I get so much more out of it. And then it just focus on, going forward, just try to think, I'm here to help the customer, not sell them anything. Start small like that, and just say, and it's interesting. Customers can see if you're there to help, but they also can see if you're there for yourself.
That's good.
So we want to make sure that we focus on the customer and we're doing what's right for them.
It could be just like your comeback to everything, right? Like, man, the other guy wouldn't do it this way. It's like, well, the reason I'm doing this is for you.
Right,
And if you challenge yourself to say that, then your mind will fill in the blanks as to what is the reason for them, right? And I think
right,
and that's something I don't think I can script. That's something that has to come from your heart, and that's really why really great salespeople are made of, is they're able to share what's in their heart in a way that makes people feel something. What they really feel is that you know what, this is the kind of person I want to do business with, or the kind of person I can trust with my family. And you don't have to ask that question. Some people just, it emerges. And Rick, definitely, the day I met you, it emerged as well. And I felt pure motive service. I didn't know how to describe it until you told me those words. And I thank you for the gift of giving that to me, and the millions of other people who are going to experience that information. And definitely you're a major part of it. Rick, thanks so much for everything you do. And thanks so much for being on our podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right.